Hello Internet, I'm me, and this is Tokumei Sentai Go, episode 2. This episode is fantastic. I love this episode. This episode is what I wanted from the first episode, but this is what it gave me. This episode, I'm not going to go in chronological order, so we're just going to set up things right here. Yellow Buster, Yoko, is pissed off at Hiromu, Red Buster, for coming in so late in the Go Busters team and getting all the special treatment, and which is more of a misunderstanding, and she's just kind of being a little PMSy. Anywho, and of course, Ryoki is not really doing much. Blue Buster's kind of just being there and being pretty awesome at it. He's the cool, level-headed character of the group. And yes, my lights are flickering. Don't worry about it. So, what am I going to go into now that I've set that up? I'm going to go into non-chronological order and just start getting into the backstory and what I really like about this episode. The backstory. 13 years ago, there was actually a lab that was working on more of teleportation due to uh, more of computers, more like taking hard matter, converting it into data into a computer, and then converting that data into hard matter once again, but in a different location in our world. Therefore, it's teleportation just using a computer. Pretty much taking something apart, reassembling it inside of a computer, and then tossing it someplace else and reassembling it. Simple enough. Well, okay, not really, but while they were working on this great breakthrough in scientific history, a virus, an evil random virus, and literally they have no idea where it came from, comes up and starts infecting the entire system of the laboratory, taking over the giant robots. Remember that, because the giant robot henchmen are actually, yes, the original giant robots that were there to guard. I don't know why it didn't take over the other giant robots, because you do see them in the same shot, but I just am guessing that they weren't finished, or maybe it's because they are in sync with the buddy bots, and I'll get to why that's important later. So, anyway, the lab disappears because, well, the virus is going to spread itself through all the other computers using the antenna to go into satellites and infect computers and other technological items all around the world. But Hiromu's father, Hiromu, Yoko, and Ryoki are all in the laboratory. Yoko's mother is there, and Hiromu's father is there, and they're all sitting in the laboratory, and Hiromu's father has decided to actually send all of the laboratory into cyberspace so that none of the virus can actually spread out. Doing so, he has actually saved the world. Though, he sends back somehow the three children and the buddy bots all come back to Earth, but with a special programming in their DNA, allowing them not to be infected by the virus, giving them super abilities and also some weaknesses. And also, the buddy bots have this same programming inside them, so they are also unaffected by this virus. And also, my theory of why the Zords weren't taken over as well, because, well, since they're in sync with the buddy bots, the programming probably pushes out the virus, making the Zords safe to use, which is pretty cool. Anywho, that was 13 years ago. And of course, Yoko is pissed off at Hiroma and pretty much questions why he's even back now. And Hiroma tells her that he came back because 13 years ago, back after the lab incident, he had promised her that he was going to help her make things right and to bring back everybody who has gone and disappeared into cyberspace. And so, mending their friendship. Though their friendship is kind of weird anyway. Anywho, now I've mentioned their strengths and weaknesses, so I'm going to go down to their weaknesses, because this episode was mostly talking about the story of the characters, while the first episode was more of generating a world in which these characters interact. So, let me get on to that. Let's start off with their weaknesses, because it's more story-based and more chronological. As Enter is the French-loving henchman, uh, is stealing some energy from a gas station, which I guess doesn't use gas, but this new fuel of energy, who is siphoning it off energy in a much less flowy way, more like taking little bits instead of a whole tank like he did last time. This time he's going to the Goldbusters have detected him and have found him and are about to confront him, but their weaknesses come into play here. Hiromu Redbuster sees a chicken and freezes up. Turns out that the program inside of him gives him a weakness of whenever he is panicked or in a panic state, he freezes up. And what makes him panic is chickens. I don't know why, but yeah, chickens. Yoko, on the other hand, has to have a constant intake of calories or she burns out and loses energy. And of course, Ryoki, who hasn't been affected by his weakness yet, overheats. So if he uses his power too much in a fight, he'll overheat and become useless. And all of these are pretty much computer-like problems, where if you overload a computer with too much information, it technically is a panic and it freezes up. If you let drain out the battery of a computer, it dies. And if you overwork a computer, it overheats without an internal fan and burns out. All cool. And so, of course, with Yoko and Hiromu out of the picture, Hiroki goes out and actually fights Enter himself all alone, but actually puts up a pretty good fight and actually very good choreography here. And I'm really happy for this because all the fight scenes in here are brilliant and I love them. I want to watch them again, and I have, and I'll watch them again and again. Anyway, Enter of course gets away, and with his tank of energy, though at half strength, compared to what he did the first time, which was at green. This one was at yellowish. So it wasn't as much energy as last time. This time, the reason I mentioned this is because this robot doesn't seem nearly as powerful as the first one. So that might just play into what happens next time. So he gives him the information to the evil cyborg guys, and they bring up the giant robot. Of course, this is a flame bot, so we're going to have a giant flame robot. Perfect. And this actually does factor into the fight, which is pretty cool. So, of course, the Go Busters go after the flame robot and take him down quite badassery, in a badass fashion, sorry. And showing off their new strengths, and which is Hiromu, Red Red Buster has super speed, so fast that he leaves fucking after images. Yoko being able to jump at super height like a rabbit. Yeah, cheetah, rabbit, see? And of course, if you haven't guessed, gorilla, he gets super strength. So all of them have these pretty fucking badass powers, and I love how they're kind of all demonstrated. When Hiromu runs or at super speed, he leaves this red after image of himself, just like blurring across the screen. Not like the traditional super speed of Super Sentai. It's almost like digital, but it's like the outline of his body instead of just a blur. When sorry, not Ryoki, uses his super strength, his arms will get huge and like then he'll hit something. It's pretty freaking cool. And he actually uses it when in the fight with Enter, but it's only for a second. And if you can catch it, you get a prize of being able to catch some special effects on TV. Anyway, and Yoko is the only one who doesn't really have it's the only non-unique one on that front. And of course they fight, and in a very badass, again, well choreographed fight scene, they finish off the flame guy with a special busta, and where they combine the sword, binoculars, and the camera gun together to make one final badass blast. Now, onto the giant robot fight. actually, because they defeated this guy so quickly, and this is why I said he's a lot easier. They defeated him quicker, so now they have a little more time to actually clean up from the fire and all the mess from the battle, and then get into their swords and prepare for the next fight. And once this guy comes, they uh, don't take that the wrong way. Anyway, he has also the powers of flame, so he sets the whole city on fire, literally. So Hiromu is the only one who's going to fight him, while Yoko and Ryuki, go out and actually help the civilians, taking out the fires, and Ryoki using his giant gorilla truck to store the citizens inside the truck, as Yoko actually goes around in her helicopter, her rabbit helicopter, doing water drops to take out the fires, as Hiromu just pretty much kills the bastard, and all ends well. This episode was pretty freaking badass. I loved this episode. I give it a 10 out of 10. I like this episode. I like this feel. Like last time I said it had a Kamen Rider Frozen feel. I'm sorry, the Kamen Rider feel and less of a Super Sentai film feel. This has both. It still has that Kamen Rider feel to it, but a lot less. Or at least to a point where it's melded together with the Super Sentai feel so much that it's almost beautiful in how it's executed. They still have the roll call, even though they don't have the henshin process that we've all come to expect from Super Sentai. And of course, they have the roll call of pretty much the last three-ish Sentais, excluding Gosenjer. You pretty much have the Shinkenger, Gokaiger roll call. Pretty much Red Buster. Done. Yeah. It's like Red Buster, Blue Buster, Yellow Buster. I'm sorry. And then done. That's it. Pretty quick, pretty simple. When they meet the Gokaiger, they're gonna have the shortest roll call on the planet. And they don't even pose. They just kind of go, okay, yeah, that's who we are. We're going to come kick your ass now. Which, again, Kamen Rider feel, but not too much Kamen Rider. Not Den-O, where he actually says, and sits out, but, you know. So, pretty much, this was a perfect meld for me. This took all the problems I had with the first episode and pretty much ironed them out to a point where nothing left me feeling unsatisfied. So I'm going to say check this episode out. I'm probably going to leave a link down below, though it is going to be raw because the sub is gone. Sorry, folks. But being able to watch this episode, you probably won't need to actually read the subs for it anyway. Just sit back and enjoy the fight scenes, and actually enjoy the concepts that are given to you visually through the backstory. I'm pretty sure you'll get it too. So until next time, y'all. Peace.